Algebra 2, test number 3, lessons 1.1 through 1.4, our study guide. Number 1 says, what percent equals 0.45? Well, we have, if you look at the number 0.45, you have two different places. This one here is the tenths place. This one here is the hundredths place. And you could actually look at the one in front of it if you want to and call that the ones place. But since it's in the hundredths place and percent means per hundred, it's already set up for us so we could say that that's 45%. Another way most people do it when they look at a number like this is they just move the decimal over. They know that to go from decimals to percents, you got to move the decimal 2 times to the right, 1 time, 2 times, and you get 45%. D. Number 2. Number 2. 4C plus 7D minus 9C plus 5D. Now, a common mistake on these problems is people try to undo the operations because that's what you guys get accustomed to doing when you're solving equations. But if you notice that you look at these problems, there's no equal sign. Neither one of these 2 or 3 is an equation. So if you did that, just make sure you look for the equation first. All you're doing is simplifying the side by combining the terms, which means we're going to put together things that have the exact same variable with the exact same exponents. Now, they all have exponents of 1, so you don't even have to pay attention to the exponents right now. Later on in the course, we will. But we'll put our C's together. 4C put together with a negative 9C, or 4 minus 9 is another way you can look at it. 4 minus 9, think of where you are on the number line. If you're at 4 and you say minus 9, you're going to go to the left because that's where your negative numbers are. So you get negative 5C when you put those two together. Or subtract them since they have opposite signs, one positive and one negative, and keep the sign of the larger number, or the one with the higher absolute value, 9. And that's the actual addition and subtraction rules for that. Along with putting your C's together, put your other like terms together. In this case, 7D and 5D. Positive 7 and positive 5 gives you a positive 12D. Now, when students do this, they aren't sure what to put between those two. You can't have negative 5C right next to 12D. That means they're multiplying by each other. Right now, that's not what we want to show. We got a positive 12D. And since we got a positive, we'll put in a plus. Just like if we would have gotten a negative, we would have put in a minus. That's done. That's finished because we cannot add or subtract things that are not like terms. And in order to be like terms, they have to have the same variables. One is C in this case, the other is D. Number 3, negative 2 times 4y plus 7 plus y. Simplify this first by distributing, because your order of operation says parentheses, then exponents, then multiplication and division, followed by addition and subtraction. So we have multiplication happening right there. That's the distributive property. We have to distribute negative 2 times 4y is negative 8y, and negative 2 times 7 to get negative 14. Bring down your plus y that's there, and then combine your like terms just like we did for number 2. There's only 2 like terms for this one, the ones that have the y terms, negative 8y and positive 1y. So negative 8 plus 1, again, opposite sign, subtract the absolute values. 8 minus 1 is 7, and keep the one with the larger absolute value. Keep that sign. This one was negative, so negative 7y, and then bring down your negative 14. We won't get any negative 21 version right there because one of them has a y, the other one doesn't. They're not like terms. Both of those are simplified by combining like terms. Now we're solving equations. We have equal signs up there. Number 4 says negative 7y plus 2 is equal to negative 9 plus 6y. Collect all of your variable terms on one side. Okay, we always want to bring the smaller variable term over to the larger one to where we can deal with positive numbers if we can. Negative 7 is smaller than positive 6, so we want to bring that one over. We have two sides of an equation. Negative 7y is just like minus 7y. The inverse operation to that is to add 7y. If you do it there, add 7y here. This one cancels out. We're left with 2, and it's positive on the left. On the right, we have negative 9. 6y plus 7y is a positive 13y. Since we brought our y's to the right-hand side, bring your constant terms, the ones that don't have a variable, to the other side. In this case, it's negative 9. We want to bring that over to this side. In order to do that, we're going to undo that negative 9 or minus 9 by adding 9. If you add it there, add it here, 2 plus 9 is going to be 11. That cancels out, so we're left with 13y on the right. If you want to get y by itself, undo 13 times something by dividing by 13. You do it to the right, do it to the left. There's no numbers that go into both 11 and 13. Both of them happen to be prime numbers. So y is equal to 11 over 13. Number 5 says 9y minus 3 equals, now we have a negative out front of this parentheses, y plus 2. So that acts like a negative 1 that you need to distribute. So negative 1 times y is going to be negative y. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. The rest of it will say 9y minus 3 equals that. So now we have two sides, just like number 4 was. So now you have two sides of an equation. Bring your smaller variable over to your larger one side. It says negative y on the right, so cancel that out by adding y, or 1y. If you add it to the right, add it to the left, and you get 10y there. We still have minus 3, and we still have negative 2. Don't lose the negative on the right. Move negative 3 over by adding it to both sides. If you add it to the left, add it to the right. You have 10y on the left. Negative 2 plus 3 is 1. Again, think of that number line if you need to. And then get y by itself by dividing by 10 on both sides. And y is 1 over 10. Number 6, we're still solving the equations. 6 times x minus 0.8 minus 0.2 times 5x minus 4 is equal to negative 1. So we got to do a couple of distributing, or we got to distribute twice first, and then we're going to simplify it by combining like terms. Then we'll move what we got to move. 6 times x first is 6x. 6 times 0.08, and if this negative 0.08, excuse me, if this messes you up, just multiply 6 times 8. You know you get the number 48. But remember, it's negative because it's 6 times negative times a positive is a negative, and then it's not 48 because it wasn't 8, it was 0.8. So it's not going to be 48, but it's going to be 4.8. You got to move that decimal over one time. So it's negative 4.8. For the second one, we have negative 0.2 times 5. Again, 5 times 2 is 10, but you got to move that decimal one time. So it's negative 1.0 or negative 1x. And then negative 0.2 times negative 4. Negative times a negative is a positive. Again, 4 times 2 is 8, but it's 0.2. So it has to be a positive 0.8 is equal to negative 1. Now you got a whole bunch of stuff on your left side. So just look at the left side. Don't go across the equal sign yet. And combine all of your like terms. 6x can be combined with negative 1x. 6 minus 1 is 5x. Negative 4.8 can be combined with positive 0.8. So you subtract them, negative 4.8 minus 0.8, and you get negative 4.0. Keep the sign of the larger number. So now we have a lot simpler looking problem equals negative 1. 5x minus 4 equals negative 1. Now move your negative 4 over to the right by adding 4 to both sides. 5x equals, if you add 4 to the right, negative 1 plus 4 is a positive 3. And then undo 5 times something by dividing by 5 on both sides. X is equal to 3/5. Number 7 says negative 2 is equal to x over 8 minus 4. Undo minus 4 first by adding it. You add it to the right, add it to the left. Negative 2 plus 4 is positive 2. Is equal to x over 8. Undo x divided by 8 by multiplying both sides by 8. Multiply the right, multiply the left. 8 times 2 is 16. This cancels. It's equal to x. Number 8 says 9 plus 8y is equal to 65. 9 plus 8n is equal to 65. Again, move your positive 9 from the left to the right by subtracting 9 on both sides. 65 minus 9, 15 minus 9 is going to be 6, and you have to borrow 1, so it'll be 56 over there, is equal to 8n over here. Get rid of 8 times something by dividing by 8 on both sides. N is equal to 7. 56 divided by 8 is 7. Distribute 5 to both terms. 5 times y is 5y. 5 times 2 is positive 10. Equals 75. Get rid of plus 10 by subtracting it on both sides. 5y equals 65. Get rid of 5 times something by dividing by 5 on both sides. Y goes into that one 13 times. Solve these equations for the indicated variable. So we want to get t by itself. This says s is equal to 3r cubed t. So all we got going on over here besides that cube that's showing up is 3 times r. If you need to separate it, you can. 3 times r cubed times t is equal to s. So all we got is a bunch of multiplication. Remember, you work your order of operations backwards. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. You look for anything addition and subtraction first. We don't see it. Then you look for anything multiplication and division. We got plenty of multiplication going on over here. You know to cancel out multiplication by dividing. If we want to keep t all by itself, you're going to divide by everything that's not t on the right. So everything that's not t on the right is 3 and r cubed. This cancels this, and this cancels this, so we're left with t. That's what we wanted. If you do it to the right side, you have to do the same thing to the left side. So what we do is we divide s by 3r cubed, and t is by itself now, and that's what we need. 11 says t is equal to 2u over e. Solve for u. So we have, I'm going to rewrite it to make a little more space. T equals 2u over e. We want to get u by itself at the end. So remember, anytime you have a fraction bar, it acts like a set of parentheses. So we can't get to that parentheses because that's at the top of our order of operations. We do that last when we undo it. So you want to undo, divide by e. So multiply both sides by e. If you multiply the right, again, do it to the left. This cancels this. You're left with 2u on the right equals e times t. Then get u by itself by dividing by 2 on both sides. This cancels this, leaves you with u. That's what you wanted. Et divided by 2 or over 2. Number 12 says to simplify, negative 5 plus 6 squared times 5 minus 2 cubed. You always have to do what's inside parentheses first. Once you're inside parentheses, before we do plus in the middle, we're going to do 6 squared. So we have negative 5 plus 6 squared. Remember, that means 6 times 6, which is 36. The other one is 5 minus 2. We can do 3 for that one, cubed. Again, do what's inside parentheses. Negative 5 plus 36 is going to be 31. 3 cubed is 3 times 3 is 9 times 3 is 27. So we have 31 right next to 27. If you have to, do it on the side to where you can make sure you get it right. Old school multiplication. 7 and 1 is 7. 7 and 3 is 21. Space 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. When you combine those two, you get 5. You get 537 when you multiply those two by each other. Solve bx plus cy is equal to d. Solve for x. So this is going back like a couple problems ago. Get x by itself. Undo addition and subtraction first. So subtract cy on the left, subtract cy on the right. So now we have bx is equal to d minus cy. Then get x by itself by dividing by b on both sides. Remember, if you divide, you got to divide by everything, or we'll just write it one time over b to make sure to divide by everything. This one will cancel it out. X is equal to d minus c times y over b. X is isolated. X is by itself. That was the goal. Number 14, the sales tax in one state is 4%. What is the amount of tax on a $33.60 purchase? Remember, 4%, you're going to multiply by that, but not by 4. Anytime you have a percent, the decimal's here, you have to move the decimal 2 times. 1 time, 2 times. You're multiplying, when you fill that in, you're multiplying by 0.04 times 3360. So 3360 multiplied by that. 4 times 0 is 0. 4 times 6 is 24. Carry your 2. 4 times 3 is 12. Plus 2 is 14. Carry your 1. 4 times 3 is 12. Plus 1 is 13. Then move your decimal the appropriate amount of times. We have to move your decimal 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. So from here, 1, 2, 3, 4 times 1.344. So the question says, what is the amount of tax? If we round this to numbers to where it's money, remember money only goes to the hundredths place, so we're only going to round to this place. The tax on this is $1.34. But remember, with money, you always round up that last one. It doesn't follow the normal rounding rule. So it'll be $1.35 tax. Number 15, we starting shorter, faster problems. 8/9 plus 1/3. Anytime you add fractions, you got to have the same denominator. 9 is the least common denominator for these. So this one's going to stay the same because 9 didn't change. 3, though, has to multiply by 3. So not 1 has to multiply by 3 as well. 8 plus 3 is 11, and 9 stays the same. 11 over 9 for that one. 4 plus a negative 7 is the same thing as 4 minus 7. 4 minus 7, think of your number line. At 4 minus 7, you're going to go this way 4 times, and then 5, 6, 7 is 3 more times, so it'll be negative 3. A negative times a negative for this next one, we know is a positive. 3 times 5 is a positive 15. A negative divided by a positive is a negative for this next one, and 36 divided by 6 is 6.